The first song that Kendrick and Nicole discuss is Money Trees, which was produced by DJ Dahi. It was the most popular song of last year on the site. They discuss the song's most popular and most enigmatic line. It goes Halle Berry or Hallelujah.
So actually Dahi did a cool breakdown about like this beat and how it came to you and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So if there's one line on this song that people get the most like worked up about, it's just what you really mean when you say it go Halle Berry, hallelujah, pick your poison, tell me what
you doing. Yeah, you can go right up or you can go left and get crazy with us. Basically just saying you can do, you know, we throwing the evils of the world in the air. Now, K-Dot, you can get with the program or you don't have to. It's whatever. But, you know, of course, hallelujah being the more, the good in me, and Halle Berry being the actual vice of what's going down. You know, the lust for money, you know, the lust for, you know, this mission that we're about to go on. You know, pick your poison, tell me what you're doing. But when you tell me right now. We ain't got time to wait. Yeah.
Is there any negative connotation on like hallelujah? Because you have so much like religious reference in your music, and sometimes it feels like you're saying that those are all good things, and other times it feels like you're judging it as much as you would judge a vice.
Right.
Like in this case, is there any sort of, is it really like this is good and this thing is bad?
In this case, this is good and this thing is bad. Yep. No in between.
In this next segment, also about Money Trees, we get the definitive answer to an often misheard lyric, and there's this really funny moment where Nicole asks Kendrick if he ever had an STD.
Do you say back when condom rappers wasn't cool, or Compton rappers, or both?
Condom rappers.
What's crazy is if it weren't Compton rappers, and people, like the line is actually explained as like Eazy-E dying of AIDS, probably didn't use condoms. That's crazy, right?
That's a bar too.
Okay, so then when you say, I fucked Rain and I went to tell my bros, and Usher Raymond Let It Burn came on, hot sauce all on your top ramen, you bitch. Did you put hot sauce in your ramen, or did you have an STD, or both?
That was a metaphor for both.
Okay.
Not saying I actually had an STD, but that's the consequences that I could have gotten fucking with somebody like Shireen. Yep.
This next section about Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe is really interesting. If you know anything about Kendrick, you know he's pretty reluctant to talk about himself and his work. He doesn't do a ton of interviews. He's pretty tight-lipped. And you can hear that here. Right after Nicole asks him about the lyric, he starts saying, well, it's self-explanatory, you know, there's not a lot to say. Nicole prods him, and it's pretty incredible to hear him open up and start talking about his lyrics.
Fell on my face and awoke with a scar, another mistake living deep in my heart.
Yeah, fell on my face and awoke with a scar. I think that's self-explanatory.
Right, sorry, is it a specific thing?
I think it probably relates more to the music, to me having situations where I'm following a trend and my music wasn't getting out there. And then me learning from that, you know, a bunch of battle scars and trying to be successful in life in general. Yep, it can take that side or it can take in the side of the streets, you know, so it's kind of like a double entendre type thing. But for the most part, I was really reflecting on the music and me getting to where I wanted to go in life.
That was always the craziest thing for me, is like there's this strong narrative, but there's also something contemporary, like in this and in Poetic Justice, like it feels like you're talking as much about right now as you are as back then.
Definitely.
So it's like we're never really sure like what is part of the story and what is like some kind of scar right now.
As you just heard in that last section, Kendrick can be pretty reticent when talking about his work. Once he gets going, you'll hear that his willingness to wear his heart on his sleeve, which is in fact what this next lyric is about, is what makes him a great artist. So much of his music is about that, and we get some of that in this conversation as well.
So when you say wear it on top of my sleeve in a flick, I can admit that it did look at yours. Why do you present to me making this?
Really putting my vulnerability out there and putting my mistakes out there. You know, when the cameras is on me, I'm still going to show you, you know, because I know you can relate to it at the end of the day. That's one of my favorite lines in that record, because it shows the the emotion of the line, but at the same time showing that I'm not scared. You know, putting my mistakes out there for people to actually latch on to them and, you know they can make a difference within themselves at the same time too.
So this next question about poetic justice is something I basically forced Nicole to ask. One of the things that has fascinated me about Kendrick and that sets him apart from so many of his contemporaries is his sense of empathy. His sense of empathy comes to the forefront on Poetic Justice, where he names it explicitly, saying, "When you're in the mood for empathy, there's blood in my pen."
We don't hate Shireen all the way.
Yeah.
We probably should, but we don't.
Right.
That's why it's especially tragic. Like, why is empathy so much a part of, like, your stories?
Because I don't want it to be so one-sided. You know, I want y'all to feel, you know, my perspective, but at the same time know where she coming from. She may come from a broken home where she wasn't taught actual home training or dealing with men. I may not actually say that, you know, in a blunt manner, but when I do a record like Poetic Justice, you'll see that she does have, you know, something about her that's attractive, you know. And I just really want to show both sides of the fence. I never want to really completely slander her all the way down, you know. So that's a good point. I'm glad y'all caught that. That's real tricky, you know, and that's something that I thought about while writing that record and you know, knowing the history that me and her have.
They always say, like, the best protagonist is the one that, like, the tragic hero is, like, the one where you don't know why you're still rooting for them. But you know. Yeah. And maybe that's the reason why she haven't gave me so much backlash in real life.
So with an album as personal and autobiographical as Good Kidd M.A.D. City, you would think that something like the hook on the title track would have been written by the artist. That turns out not to be the case. That section was actually written by the person who sings it, producer Pharrell Williams.
Did you write the hook or did Pharrell?
Pharrell wrote that joint.
I mean, presumably it was, like, off of the idea that you obviously had for the track. So when he says, want to reconnect with your relations, this is your station, baby. Is, like, how is that, does that hold meaning to you?
Yeah, definitely. Really just bringing you into my world and trying to let you understand who is the good kid in M.A.A.D City, you know. As soon as I heard it, I knew that was the title track, just how dark it sounded and the desperation of it, you know. And I just started writing right there on the spot.
It's kind of funny what ridiculous lengths our users will go to sometimes to crack a joke, and you'll see that here in this next section about Backseat Freestyle. One of the things I love is that this whole song provides kind of a timeout in the story of the record and gives you an idea of what Kendrick and his friends really were like as teenagers, riding around talking shit in the backseat of someone's car.
I pray my dick get big as the Eiffel Tower. Freestyle now, so I can fuck the world for 72 hours. So what's funny about the annotations, like, they make the whole thing about, you know, your dick, whatever, and then they're like, interesting fact, if he really did have a dick the size of Eiffel Tower, it would be 0.025% of the length of the world.
They crazy. Who thinks of this stuff?
All your fans.
Nah, that's dope, because that was me going as ignorant as possible, and that's them analyzing as ignorant as possible, but at the same time putting actual stats behind it. That's funny.
But that's really just bragging, right?
Yeah. That's just, you know, me capturing the moment, being 16, say the most outlandish shit when you're around your homeboys or you're around whoever. You know, you really don't care what you're talking about. And that's the type of way we used to talk.
I'm really excited about this next part. We talk about M.A.A.D City, which is one of my favorite songs on this record. In the midst of this really aggressive, powerful tune, Kendrick slips in the line, "Hope euphoria can slow dance with society."
One of our, like, super users asked about hope euphoria can slow dance with society. He says it's one of the most poetic lines in rap.
Yeah.
And actually, I was interested because I think you say something similar about euphoria in cartoons and cereal, and so, like, it's sort of an ironic thing. I mean, obviously you're hoping for it, so there's lack of it, but what do you have to say about that?
That's exactly what it is, you know. I look at society as you know, one big pot of gumbo, just so many temptations, you know. So me hoping for some type of peace is like something I can hope for forever, or I can get it within one moment, or I can get it within this song, or I can get it within just talking to, you know, the kids in the neighborhood, you know. So I always wanted to put that hope and that you know, type of vulnerability out there where I'm always being this dreamer, you know, at the same time. I'm a realist, but at the same time, what separates me from the rest of my homeboys is the fact that I can dream or this hope rather than just saying, fuck everybody, ain't shit about to happen, I'm finna be on this corner with the homies, and that's what it is. That's what separated me, the fact that I can dream about that, you know, and that was the line.
I actually, like, on just a side note, I remember even like a year and a half-ish ago when I was just probing you, and at that time, like, no one knew what Good Kidd that the M.A.A.D stood for, and you said the one thing that made you different was like your parents gave you a place where you could dream, and that was just to me like
exactly
like what makes it different, like that. Then there's hope for something else.
Right.
Next, we talk about Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst. This song is really the emotional centerpiece of the album, and on a record that's seen no shortage of violent scenarios, this is the first time where the narrator really reckons with his own death.
I suffer a lot, and every day the glass mirror get tougher to watch. I tie my stomach in knots. Why?
What was the line before that? The line before that was the one that really caught the grips of that line. I suffer a lot, my stomach in knots. Non-trading, sound-trading with death, what the fuck, you know, sound-trading, the threats that can come about, because it's on.
Yeah, may the wound help my mother be blessed from any Moses.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that whole thing about, like, if you were to leave.
Yeah.
Well, actually, is it rake in the scent of a reaper? That was something people often say, they think you're saying reeking the scent of a reaper.
Yep.
It's reeking.
Reeking the scent.
That's crazy.
Yeah, reeking the scent. Basically coming to grips with reality, you know, saying I'm a teenager, I'm out here, and it's a possibly chance that I won't see tomorrow, you know. So looking in the mirror and really understanding that, you know, was a tough point to deal with, you know, a tough time to deal with. I could walk out there. It was one particular summer that was so hot, I mean, you couldn't even walk to the corner because the neighborhoods was feuding that crazy. You walk to the corner, for sure you go run into some action because somebody's on the other end of the corner waiting for you to walk on that corner. And that's how crazy Compton is, you know. You're waiting on that corner, you pull up, they hop out, shoot at you down the block so you can run the opposite way and have another car waiting on you as soon as you get to the corner, and that's it for you. You ain't got nowhere to go. You feel me? And you come to grips with that. You look in the mirror and say, damn, this might be last day walking out here as a teenager, you feel me? And that's what that particular line, that whole verse, you know, is about really grasping the idea of death for a kid.
Yeah, that was actually what I was like the most obsessed with when I read it, because I mean, even like what you're saying, and I'm not sure why I'm infatuated with death. My imagination is surely the aggravation of threats
that can come about because the tongue is mighty powerful. Mm-hmm.
But don't you answer your own question there? Like, you know why you're...
Yeah. But still, it's the curiosity is still there because, like I said, I'm a dreamer. And one thing about a dreamer, it's not always a good thing. You feel what I'm saying? You know, your mind can take off and wonder negative things as well. It's not always, I could be the greatest basketball player one day. It's the idea of I can actually walk outside and get hit by a train in the middle of the street. You feel what I'm saying? So I know what it is, but it's always going to be a constant thing playing back in my head.
Now we get into the song Real. And what's cool about this section is that Kendrick starts to tell us about the writing of this tune and then gets a little nervous and almost pulls back a bit. The first lyric that he talks about is, I love what the both of you have to offer. And he gets just a little bit nervous about telling us what the phrase, the both of you, refers to.
I love what the both of you have to offer. In fact, I love it so much I don't love anything else.
Yeah, that's basically talking about my homeboys. And also talking about this promiscuous woman, you know, so Damn, I'm giving away the tricks now. Yeah, in conclusion with, Shireen, or just women, or vices, drugs, women in the streets. Basically saying I'm so indulged in it that I don't want to change it. All the way up to the last line of that verse, where I say the part about my father, really break it down, what's really real.
So it was a sort of like personally indulgent question. Like one of the things my mom told me my whole life, more than anything else, it's not what you say, it's how you say it, because I had an attitude, was like no one will ever love you if you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
And I remember when you played me a little bit of the album early in LA, you only played that part of that song, and it was like ringing in my head.
Right.
You played her verse.
Yeah.
You love everything, you love it so much. So why are you... that's like my personal thing that my mother told me, but like why are you so obsessed with this idea of like when you don't love but what do love got to do with it when I don't love myself, and how does it relate to the rest of your story?
Not knowing who I am, basically. I went through a whole album and a whole setting in my life not knowing who I am, or thinking I know it all, thinking I have so much love for my homies. I think that's it. That's where love stops. So much love for the streets. I think that's where love stops. But deep inside, I didn't know who I was. I was just caught in the same cycle that everybody else was following, everybody else was in. So how can I really have love for my partner next to me, if I don't know who I am? How can I have love for my city if I don't know who I am? Me having love for him, if making the right decisions for him, making the right decisions for these kids out here. I wasn't doing that, you feel me? So it was me having to find myself, and that's what that whole thing represented.
Okay, so then when you're talking about these other people, and they say a scapegoat because plan A don't come free, did you ever have a plan B or C?
A plan B or C? No. I didn't for a long time. I thought that was supposed to go be until I found music. Yeah.
Because that's why this song to me was so crazy, because this speaks to so many people in our generations. Like I've talked to Punch about this. Like we're plagued and like luckier than you, or people from Compton with opportunities, with choices. And it's like, well, I don't have to go after A because I can have B, C, D, or E.
Right. Exactly.
But it's like to you always seemed like you've been doing this for like 8 years.
Yeah, man.
It always seemed like this was it. There was no... So it just seemed like how you must have seen other people like this versus yourself, because to me it seemed like you only ever had an A.
Right. Like, I don't know. Like, people always ask me what I would have been doing if I wasn't doing music. I can never give them a straight answer. Like, man, I don't know. Like, so I guess I just had a plan A once it came and hit, because I felt like this was a God gift. If I throw this gift away, then I'd be, that's just like any other sin. You kill somebody, that's a sin. If you throw away God's gift, I think that's a sin too. So what I did was I just worked at what I felt like, something I had the gift in doing it. I don't know what I'd be doing if I wasn't. Not to sound cliche, but that's for real. I do not know at all.
Now we go into Black Boy Fly, and what really grabbed me about this conversation was hearing Kendrick talk about when he viewed himself as a success. And it turns out that when he first started feeling like he was succeeding wasn't when he was selling 1 million records or performing for thousands of people or going all over the world. It was when he was able to go to New York City and play a small room for a couple hundred people.
So I never realized the type of performance that I could do. This whole song is like you doubting, and this is, again, so relatable. You see that person where you're like, I should be that one, and you don't want to have spite in your heart, but you're also like jealous of what they have. Do you remember the moment when you really knew it could be you? Like when there was no more, this person's already on, or this person's already made it, or it's too hard to get from where I am?
Maybe when I started traveling, I don't know when the time, maybe OD, when I just seen there was something outside of Compton. When I came to New York and maybe there was a little small venue, and I seen that, it's actually possible for me to get a name somewhere else rather than getting the name in my neighborhood by knocking somebody off. You feel me? That's when I knew that, maybe it's something a little else different out here, that I can actually focus on. And it was in the same profession that the people I was talking about, entertainment. So I think yeah, once I started traveling, getting out of Compton a little bit more, I seen what they was talking about. It kind of clicked.
So now we move outside of Good Kidd M.A.A.D City for the only time in this interview. We deal with the non-album track, Cartoon and Cereal. Now, Kendrick Lamar's lyrics are some of the most commented on all of Rap Genius, and this tune is no exception. Almost 150 people have contributed to the annotations on the song. Kendrick is rightfully impressed by his epic verse on this song, and you can hear that in this clip.
I'm a maniac when aiming at the enemy that lied. Tell a story that I'll never grow to 25. Not to worry, every warrior will come and see euphoria, and that's a covenant I put on every tribe.
Yeah, that's the bar.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. I'm trying to figure out where I was at writing that. I think I was just at a point where telling everybody, where I felt like everybody need to believe in me. This kid from Compton, believe in me. Because I'm going to do something that's going to spark the idea of some type of hope, going back to that, you know, whether it's in music or whether it's in life. You feel me? And and I look at it as a battle, you know, as a battle within itself, a battle within myself to always stay focused and remain focused on what I came for, and that's to move people with music. You know, I feel like music, you know, can shape the world at any time. I got people out there that say they almost committed suicide till they put in OD, till they put in Section 80, you know. So when I made Cartoons and Cereal and saying that specific line, continue to believe in me and believe in what I'm doing, because I won't fail you. Yep.
In our conversation with Kendrick, there were a couple things he didn't want to talk about. Names of people who were killed, who were bleeped out on the record, that he was not going to tell us no matter how many times we asked him. But he did tell us about this incident that he talks about on M.A.A.D City, where he helped plan a robbery of a place where he was working as a security guard.
Were you really a security guard?
Yeah.
Where at?
For like a week, a truck stop. They had like all this cargo and stuff up in there. And the moment, the first day I got in there, I was already scheming on how to get this stuff about these trucks. Yeah, man, I probably got like one paycheck, man. And it went bad after that. Yeah, I should have been locked up. But with the graces of God, he has favor over me. And I do not take that for granted. Yeah, for sure.
It's really like a movie, you know? Like, it fits into the story, but like in the end, it's like, man, it's a movie. Like,
my pops was like, you gotta go get a job. Feel me? So I went and got a job. The easiest job I can probably find that was on the market. Sitting there, I probably didn't even have a uniform. It's like I was just securing a little post. Like I didn't have a flashlight or nothing. I didn't even have top flight. I didn't even have a flashlight. I'm just sitting there and just scheming on how I can just crack these back doors open. Yeah, man.
The main reason we wanted to do this retrospective was to look back at Good Kidd M.A.A.D City and its impact a year later. The incredible thing about this record is that it is so specific. You know what kind of car the characters were driving, what streets they were going down, what music they were listening to. And it's absolutely mind-blowing for us and for Kendrick, as you'll hear in this next segment, to realize that people all over the world related to this story and adopted it as their own.
Good Kidd M.A.A.D City's been around your catalog for a long time, since I heard it on, like, I think Celebration or something. And then Punch told me the little secret about sort of the iterations of Good Kidd M.A.A.D City, this story, because it's your real life.
Yeah,
it really is no secret.
Yeah.
You've been telling it, you know.
It's always been little hints in there.
I mean, just that Keisha's song is then told again from her sister's point of view.
PNP.
Yeah, PNP.
Yep, all that.
But since it's been a year, and like I know that when I was looking at the lyrics for this, it was like a completely different experience. You know, it's crazy how much more I think I understand.
Yeah.
You know, what initially was so confusing to me is like,
yeah.
You know, but a year later, and after obviously a crazy year, like did it change like who it was for, who the album was for, what you wanted people to think? Like, what was the reaction you hoped for?
Crazy. I just made that record just for my homies in the hood. I made it for just my community, just Compton. And little did I know that the idea of being in this dark place and overcoming it would touch so many other people, and they had grasped it a little bit more than just saying being in Compton and going through all this crazy stuff. You know, they took it a little bit more further than I can imagine, because they took it as coming out of a depression. You know, they didn't have to live in Compton to understand what was going on. They took it as coming out of depression and finding something positive and actually exercising that positivity. And that's something that blew my mind away. You know, when I go to London or when I go to Berlin or, you know, anywhere in Germany, and people say, man, this album is my life. I'm like, how's your life? You ain't from the city? He's like, no, I was on drugs, man. I was peer pressured by, you know, just friends and being around and being a follower. And, you know, I had to really break out of that. And that's what this album represents, you know, just coming out of that struggle, that depression. Yep, so that's something I didn't know I was going to do. Like I said, I wrote this for just me and my partners.
That's so humble to me, because that's the thing that's always blown my mind. Like,
yeah.
You have the most specific situation, like the most, it's even other people in similar situations, it's not as bad, it's not as hot, it's not
right.
And the fact that it's like so universal.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I don't know if that's just like something you can't predict, or if
yeah, that's God-given, man. I can't even say that come from me. You know, that's just a God-given thing, you know, to have it reflect on so many people's lives.
Thanks for listening to this Good Kidd M.A.A.D City anniversary episode. This album is something that is going to live for a really, really long time for fans of hip-hop music. And it's a really amazing thing that we were able to sit down with Kendrick and get his insight into the album, into the lyrics, into the writing, into the more personal moments, all of it. Thank you for listening. Outside the Lines with Rap Genius is created and written by Sean Sotero, a.k.a. Same Old Sean.
The threats that can come about.
The show is produced and engineered by Josh Cross at Crosstown Studios.
Yeah, and I look at it as a battle, you know, as a battle within itself.
This episode was hosted by Nicole Otero and recorded by Jason Chandler.
She may come from a broken home where she wasn't taught actual home training or dealing with men.
Our music is by Psionic.